All right, another day. I don't have a whole lot of time. It's nighttime, dark. I just got home from work. So, this is what I did so far. This is clean. I'll wipe it again. I cleaned it with brake cleaner, washed it off a little bit. It's not perfect, but I'll be washing it again. Cleaned all this here. I'll spray it down with some more brake cleaner right there. Make sure there's no oil on any of the sections where the bearings will be touching. Put in the new bearings, clean them up also. Put some of my Ultra Slick bearing grease on it, the rebuilding grease, and then I'll go ahead. But what I do, just soak this down and then wipe it up with a clean rag. But I use the rag with no lint on it. I'll come back with it, show you what I got. All right, this is the one that I use. It has no lint on it. Almost feels like paper. It's almost like paper. See, still got dirt on it. So that's what I'll do. I'll wipe it up again because I really don't want any old grease or anything on it. So wipe it down a few times. Make sure it's just absolutely clean. And try not to touch it with your hands when you're done. So at that time I'll have on gloves. Yeah, I can feel there's probably a little more grease on it. So I'll do that off camera. All right. And I went ahead, cleaned it up 3 times to where it's real clean, has no more oily thing. I got my gloves on, so I won't put any oil from my fingers on it. Opened up the new pack. I'll also be cleaning this off with the same brake cleaner on the back side. Well, basically the whole thing, but mainly on the back of it because it has like a little oil film on it. Make sure I clean it up because you don't want any oil in this section here, or else you can spin a bearing. So I'll go ahead and clean them up now with the same brake cleaner. Go ahead and do that. All right, those two are cleaned up. That one and that one put on. I'll clean the other 3 up and put them on. I'll try to just get the crank in, and then that'll be it for tonight, because I got to go to bed. But let me get the others. And see, even though it's clean, you probably won't be able to see it, but there's little pieces of aluminum flakes right there. And that dirt is from those, that black stain, all that. So I'll go ahead and do that and be back. All right, I went ahead, cleaned up the surfaces here with brake cleaner. It's nice and clean. Feels kind of grippy, but I use this right here, Ultra Slick engine assembly lube, and I'm gonna put a generous amount on each one of the bearings right there, and then lay it in there, spin it, get it all over, and then put in the next set over there on top. Clean up the caps, everything, put them on. I'll go ahead and when I say good amount, it is thick now like honey. And I don't wipe it down with my hands or anything. I just let it run. Now, if you were building an engine for racing, performance engine, you would take a lot more care than this. You'd put in your little strips, make sure the clearance is right and all that. This engine here is a temporary engine until he gets another engine. Because this one here, we checked it and it had some small issues, but the issues turned out not as bad. So I need 2 hands to put this in. And usually you store this like this, standing straight up. If you tilt it on sides, sometimes, I know with the older vehicles, it can warp the crank. I'll go ahead and lay that in there now. All right, I put it in, spun it a few times, moving real smooth. And that's the assembly lube just on it there, so that keeps it real clean. Now, try to wipe up anything that's a little bit too much on this flat section here. And that'll, like that, I clean up that little red spot there. Make sure that that other saddle presses down perfect. All right, I'll go ahead and do that. All right, they're all cleaned up. Scrub them down with a brass wire brush so I can get up in that little corner right there. Make sure there's no oil grease. Run them through the parts washer. Now, that's the old bearings, and that's the new one right there. You can see the difference. That one actually has a groove in the middle. That's where you see that oil sitting in the middle. And these have no more section in the middle. They just smooth. So they all clean, brake clean on everything there. I put it on, put a little ultra slick assembly lube in these, and then put them on and get ready to torque them in. So that's what I'll do. All right, these are the bolts that hold everything together. What I'll do today is put them in, torque them to maybe 20 pounds. That's not the final torque, but just to torque it down there the first time. And I'm just gonna dip it into this oil just to get some lubrication on it. But I won't have it running with oil. I just want a little bit of oil on it just to start. Because if you have too much oil, it can build up like compression and give you a false reading. So I usually just put just enough. All right, I'll go ahead and do that. And all I do is just dip the screw down inside, let it run for a little bit, and then put it in. All right. All right. I put the first torque on it, 50. The book just says 61 to 65 foot-pounds of torque. I probably didn't mention on top of them have numbers. This one says 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Arrows are pointing forward. And that's how you know they're back in the right place. 1 is always up where the timing belt or chain or whatever is there. Well, most of the time. On the 6.0 diesel for Ford, the chain is back here, so that one falls out. But most vehicles, the timing belt is here, and then one starts going that way. So I did 50 foot-pounds, starting in the middle, then went out, 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 out. So, and it actually turns very, very smooth. I'm actually surprised. It's no play, anything. So it runs real nice. So I'll give a second torque to 64. I won't go to 65, but I'll go to 64. You know what? I'll probably go to 65. See what it feels like then. All right. All right. I just laid it on its side and did the torque into 65. Went over it twice to make sure everything was good. And this is how I used to do it, you know, before I had all the stuff like this right here. I didn't have this before. I used to just lay it on its side and work like that. And when you're done, just check it. Still moves freely. Has no play front to back. It moves. I mean, you don't need anything special to put this back together. Well, I have to get ready for bed, for work. But I'll come back and I'll be putting in the pistons, getting the rings and everything right for that section. But I'll put this whole video on one piece, the bottom end. All right.